attention. So number 1, if you're doing this one and I ask you to find the first is the horizontal asymptotes. What are you looking at on number 1 for horizontal asymptotes? The top degree. What is the top exponent? 1. It has a variable, so the exponent is 1. What's the bottom degree? 2. So if the degree on bottom is bigger, look at your paper. Ashley, pay attention. What? Y equals 0. Number 2 says to factor, and this is the harder part. Does the top factor? No. Does the bottom factor? What's the first rule of factoring is GCF. So can I pull a GCF out of this one? -3. And then I would have positive x squared minus 9. Now why do I pull a negative with it? Because it's negative here. It just makes it easier to deal with, but it changes the signs on the parentheses. Now what do you have to look at? What's x squared minus 9? Will that factor?
Yeah, well, it's x plus 3x.
Any questions? Now, does anything cancel?
No.
No, nothing cancels. So what does that mean?
No holes.
No holes. Number 4 are the vertical asymptotes. And where do the vertical asymptotes come from? The bottom. So since nothing canceled, everything's gained for that asymptote. Nothing canceled, so they're all asymptotes. Now, what about -3? If I set -3 equal to 0, that doesn't have a variable, so it just goes away. Then x plus 3 equals 0, and x minus 3 equals 0. So this is x equals -3, and this is x equals 3. Who has questions on number 1?
Not at all.
So make sure tomorrow that I can easily see your asymptotes and your holes.
We're going to get extra credit for graphing.
No. What?
So your vertical asymptotes are -3 and 3.
Yes.
I'll see if we get extra credit.
Questions?
Do we need to put x equals 3 or just
And x equals 3. Questions?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And I was asked to do another one. 6. All right. Number 6. Horizontal asymptotes. What do I look at for horizontal asymptotes? Biggest exponent on the top is 2, and the biggest exponent on the bottom is 2. So what does that mean? -1/1, which would go to? Any questions? Number 2 says to factor. Will the top factor? What do you notice right here? Let's pull that negative out. If I pull a negative out, I get negative and then x squared and minus 1. Does that make sense? Questions? Now let's try to factor the bottom. What do you have on the bottom? Who's paying attention to me? What do you have on the bottom? Kelly?
X minus 2.
Who said x minus 2? X minus 2 and what? X minus 1. Does everybody understand this negative pull out up here? Will this factor? Will x squared minus 1 factor? Try it. Can I get an x squared? X and x. Then what? How would I get a negative 1? Does that multiply to be this? Yeah. What is x squared minus 1? Difference of squares. All right. What cancels out, guys? The x minus 1s cancel out. So what does that mean about wholes? Wholes. Where do I have one? At positive 1. Any questions? How do I find a hole? There's where the hole is at. X equals 1 is the hole. But how do I find the y coordinate? So I put do you see how this canceled out? So I have negative, then x plus 1 on the top, and x minus 2 on the bottom. Agreed? Then how do I find the whole? I put x equals 1 in for x and solve. So 1 plus 1 is 2. Do you see how this is negative 2 on the top and negative 1 on the bottom? So that's going to be 2. Guys, do not forget this negative. It has to come down with it. So where is the hole at? 1, 2.
What does that say? Is that negative 1 page? What is that?
Here?
Yeah.
That's 1 plus 1.
Okay.
All right, number 4, final step, vertical asymptotes. Where do vertical asymptotes come from? It comes from the factors that did not cross out. So which one didn't cross out on the bottom? X minus 2. Do I worry about this one? No, that just stays up there. X minus 2 is on the bottom, so x equals 2 is the vertical asymptote. Are you with me? So those are the things you need to know. The asymptotes, y equals negative 1, x equals 2, and then a hole at 1, 2.